In this next video, what we're going to do is we're going to set up the UV map for Photoshop, and we're going to start to texture this. Again, the reason why I'm not doing the divots in the hat like this is because we're actually going to texture these in, and we're going to bump map them. So we're not even going to bother texturing it. It's a lot easier this way, and it also saves polygons. So you can see this looks like basically a black line with some stitching that's white. That's really the only thing we're going to do here. And here we're going to draw a little stitch in, and then we're just going to move them around. Okay? So the first thing you need to do is go ahead and go to your polygons and go to Create UVs, or Edit UVs rather, UV Texture Editor. Now you'll notice that this set of UVs represents this diagram. Okay? So what we need to do is we need to make these UVs look more like this image. The way we do this is a sphere, so we're going to go ahead and we're going to use the spherical map. The only issue that we're going to run into is the brim, because the brim is not a sphere. We can actually take these faces and extract them, and then later on we could texture them separately, and then you could group them later. So this is what we're going to do, just to make our life easy here. So first thing we're going to do is extract the brim. Okay, just go ahead and, I guess we could do this from top view. Go ahead and select all this. I'm holding down Shift while I'm doing this. And let's just make sure we selected the whole brim here. We didn't leave off any faces. Okay, see that I left off a couple faces. Okay, this looks good. Now we're just going to go ahead and we're going to go to Mesh Extract. And what that does is that takes the brim and it separates it from the hat. So now it's a separate piece of geometry. You'll notice that the pivot point is now way over here in the middle, and that makes it kind of difficult to move the hat accurately. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to Modify, Center Pivot. And that'll center the pivot right around the hat. So now we have a sphere, which is this, a half a sphere, rather, hemisphere. And then we have the brim. Two separate objects. We're actually going to texture them separately. Guess the best bet would be to go ahead and texture the, let's start with the hat. Go ahead and texture this, and then we'll do the brim. So now if we go to our UV texture editor, you'll notice that this one looks like a cube and that one looks like a sphere. That's good. Since it's a sphere, what we're going to do is we're going to use a spherical map. Okay, this is pretty good. We're just going to keep it like this for now. Let's just see what area this covered. Let's actually see what a cylindrical map looks like. Let's see if that works better. Problem with this is we're not going to get the top of the hat. It's all bunched up in here. Okay, I think we might be able to use this. So we're going to go to UVs, and we're going to highlight this whole thing. And we're going to go to Polygons, and we're going to go to Unfold Option. What we want to do here is we want to pin UV border, and click Apply and Close. You see what that did? I'm going to do that one more time. Watch. That opened up the hat here. This right here is the top of the hat. So that took all those vertices, all those UVs rather, that were bunched up, and it unfolded them. So that now allows us to get access to the top of the hat. So if I go to Faces here, and I were to, let's do UVs. Select these UVs only. We can see that this whole area is the top of the hat. If I go to Faces, watch this. If I hold B and do that, see that? It's all the top of the hat. This is that whole area we unfolded. So this is great. Now we've successfully unfolded the top of the hat. Okay? Alright, there's still a little bit more work to be done though. We're going to relax these a bit because it looks like there's still a little overlapping here. If I go to UVs and hit W, You could actually manually do this. This isn't too bad. We just want to make sure there's no UVs that are folded on top of one another. That will make our life very difficult when we go to texture. Okay. You'll notice this area here is cut out. The reason why, I'm sure you could guess, is this is actually the area we extracted the brim from. That's why it's empty. We're just going to texture that later. This is great. This area right here is the front of the hat. And then as you wrap around, that's the back. This is the top. The only problem is our UVs don't fit in the first quadrant of our Cartesian system here. We need to get this thing to fit. So we're going to highlight these UVs, and we're going to go to Polygon, Layout Option. What this does is this automatically, oops, I just lost that window. There it is. This will automatically make them fit in the first quadrant. Okay, we're going to go into square. We're going to do uniform. Do non-overlapping. Okay. We're going to do no rotate. We don't want to rotate this thing. We want to keep it the way it is. And let's go ahead and lay out UVs. Okay, this is good. You'll notice now that it is perfectly scaled and it fits into the first quadrant here. Okay, time to take a UV snapshot. I have to go to object mode on my actual hat in order to do this. So we're going to go to polygons, UV snapshot, and we're going to click browse here. I'm going to go to my desktop and save this. You're going to go to your H drive. So I'm going to call this hat UV no brim. Okay. Alright, and I'm going to put the size 1024. The larger this number, the bigger the image is in Photoshop, and the more accurately we could texture it, and the better it'll look. Don't make it too big though, because that'll slow our computer down too much. We're going to save this as a BMP. That'll actually give us access to something called the alpha channel, which we'll use later for bump mapping. Our UV range is normal 0 to 1. That means that's the upper right hand quadrant, the first quadrant. That's what we want. And then we're going to click OK. Let's just check to make sure that worked. Okay, here it is. You should have a Photoshop file if you have Photoshop installed on your computer. And there you go. Okay, so what I'm going to do in the next video is I'm going to actually go ahead and texture this thing. So we're going to stop it here for a minute.